Good morning. Interesting. I'd like to mention, as I've mentioned before, that I put this particular variety to the test. From what I understand, it's notorious for dropping its fruit the first few years. This is 2 years, and it didn't drop any fruit that I know of. And I've eaten quite a few of these, and my son ate some when we were on vacation. I like it. I like it very much. I intend to plant it in ground. Pastilliere is how I pronounce it. It's not extremely rich. Has a beautiful color. It's very, very, very good. It's not extremely rich like Black Madeira, for example. Interesting leaves too. But it's rich. It doesn't have the exquisite taste, say, of Italian 258. Italian 258 and Black Madeira are two of my favorites as far as in the taste category. Personally, this is just a personal reflection. I don't feel like I need to go any further than that to achieve total satisfaction in the taste category. And I can get them to ripen in time enough in my Zone 7A to where it's worthwhile growing them, which I've discussed in many of my other previous videos. This is an interesting cultivar that is unique. It's flavorful. I like it, and I'm going to plant it in ground. I can see my figs need watering. I'm going to water them as soon as I finish with this video. This is my Black Madeira, one of my baby Black Madeiras that's getting ripe. It's the first ripe of my baby Black Madeiras. First ripe fig. And I did a series on these baby Black Madeira. I did it purposefully so that I could show air layering, how I use air layering, how I use that technique for anybody that wants to use that technique, especially the newbies. Everybody has their own favorite techniques, I imagine, but over the years, many years, mine have really worked well for me. So I demonstrate that, and then I talk about the three babies, the Black Madeira. I did a series on them, and now you're seeing the first ripe fig, and I'm going to get plenty. Let me bite into this. There we go. Get into the sunlight. Very beautiful. Glisteningly beautiful. Glisteningly delicious. First Black Madeira on my baby Black Madeiras in that series of videos. There's another baby. Oh, that was this baby. Here's another beautiful baby. Oh, I'm breaking the leaves. With figs all over it. And they'll be getting ripe very soon too. And the other baby Black Madeira, the third one, is over here. There it is. There's my baby. Figs all over it. Everywhere. That's the third Black Madeira. Okay. And those two haven't begun to make any ripe figs yet. But I picked my first one. I'm happy. And these are mature plants. This is Preto. Look at that. Oh gosh, that's perfectly ready. I've been eating a lot of figs. Honestly, I'm going to confess, I've been eating too many figs. We haven't talked about this yellow longneck. Look at that. And I've made a series of videos on yellow longneck. You might want to look at Beauty and the Beast and Fig Feast, to name a couple. And there are others where I compared it to other varieties that I feel highly overpriced. But I'm not going to get into that right now in this video. But you can look at those videos if you're interested. I put them out there for you to help you to avoid being, well, having to spend more money than you need to on certain varieties, because this yellow longneck is Golden Riverside and so on and so forth, and Golden Rainbow, and we talked about that in other videos. Go back and look at them. It's the same. But I'm going to enjoy this yellow longneck, this Golden Riverside, this Golden Rainbow. I'm going to enjoy it because they're all the same fig. Let's go. Ooh. There we go. And I'm going to take a bite. Very, very, very good. Very good. And a honey fig. Okay. There's something I want to talk to you about. So please stand by. And here are more ripe Italian 258. Aren't they lovely? I can't quite see through here, but I think it's coming through clear. And there's always an abundance. Well, they're starting to run out because Smith is so early. But there's been a great abundance of Smith. I've eaten so many of them, and they're so delicious. It's one of my favorite top-tier figs. In a week or two, they'll be all finished. Just, again, Smith is early, which is amazing for such a rich fig. And it is a rich fig with a delicious jammy nectar. One of my all-time favorites. As is Italian 258 here. And as is Black Madeira and Preto and Black Madeira are so close. I've mentioned that. If you have it, you don't need to get Black Madeira and pay the extra money. My opinion. Oh, what a lovely morning. It's just so beautiful, the breeze coming through. I've got a lot of chores that I have to tend to now, unfortunately. I've got to dig into them. I'm supposed to be preparing for the Labor Day weekend up ahead. This is Brooklyn White, and it's very vigorous. It's late. I haven't received, it's in ground for quite a few years. I haven't received a single ripe fig, and it's the last day of August. But I see that they're starting to swell now. That's why I'm going to mention it. Now, last year, this particular variety, and you can see it's very vigorous. I like fig trees that are vigorous. I like the way that there's all of these figs coming to fruition slightly after one another as they ripen up the new growth. I love that. And here you have a small one, for instance, down here. Look at this little one here. Will ripen later. But this tree last year did get my worst recognition, I think. Least valuable fig award in my collection. Let's hope it's different this year. It was just terrible last year. It's later than I like, and they tend to spoil. At least mine in the ground compared to all my other figs in the ground, it performed worse than all of the others. So I just wanted to mention that quickly. Now, I made a long video already, which I don't know if I'm going to release it. So that's why I'm redoing some of this, because I'm trying to make it shorter. I talked about Feliciano Bianco, but I went into it in such detail, I don't know whether I should release the other video or not, or this one. This is Feliciano Bianco, and I think I will just release the other video, because I went into a lot of detail how this fig came out of Italy. My uncle Madeira brought it back about 65 years ago, I would say, when he came to America, and or thereabouts, or 70. And I tell the story in the other video, which I think I'll just release that video. The thing about that video is, and let me warn you, it's nice, it's good in the beginning, and I'm pretty calm with it, but I was in a hurry and I start moving the camera all around in the end. But in the beginning, when I talked about the Feliciano Bianco, and it's something that I would like you to hear, because it's very, very interesting, because it's a San Pedro type, but it does, uncharacteristically to the San Pedro group of figs, ripen some of its figs, some of its second crop or main crop figs, to fruition. It actually ripens them, which the San Pedro types don't do that, because they need caprification on the second crop, the fig wasp, and they need to be pollinated or they drop off, like they do with Desert King, which is a very, very close relative to the Feliciano Bianco. I know that they're related. There's no question. But I talk about the reasons why I know that they're different. And I explain all those reasons in more detail in the other video, which you will see. I'm going to release it. You may not want to watch it all the way through. It's a long video, and I talk about other things, but maybe in the beginning, if you want to know about Feliciano Bianco and the long history that I have with this tree, this variety, which is extremely vigorous, more so than Desert King. I wouldn't necessarily rate it higher than Desert King, but it's rated as high as Desert King, but it's different. It's a little different, but it's very similar. Okay, it ripens some of its main crop figs. Here's an example right there. You see, that's in the node. That's between the node. There's a ripe Feliciano Bianco, which is a San Pedro type fig. It's ripe. There it is. about 15%, 15 or 20% of the figs ripen, the main crop figs, right? The rest, they just fall right off. You know, they will never mature. Now with Desert King, they all fall off, all of the second crop, unless you have the fig wasp, which of course I don't. There's the inside of that main crop of the Feliciano Bianco, which is fair to poor at best. So never ever grow Feliciano Bianco because you want any, even 20% of the main crop figs to mature. That's not the reason why you get Feliciano Bianco. You get Feliciano Bianco because the Briba, the first crop figs that are always due around the 4th of July, which is early, are big, scrumptiously delicious, exquisite tasting, perfect figs that ripen during, exquisite figs that ripen during the finest time of the year when it's the hottest, with the hottest days and the hottest nights, and usually the driest days and the driest nights. And so you've been waiting all year for some fresh figs, and it's the Briba that bring you the best figs. And the Briba, of course, of the Desert King and the Feliciano Bianco are among the very best Briba. Briba aren't usually very tasty, not as tasty as the main crop figs, for sure, on almost every variety. But on some, like Peter's Honey and Desert King, they are very, very, very tasty and delectable, voluptuously so. So you can assuage that tremendous craving you have for fresh figs that you've had all winter long with none, with those varieties, because they ripen around the 4th of July. That's why you went Feliciano Bianco, but not because of the main crop figs. Forget about that. But vigorous, there is no tree that's more vigorous than Feliciano Bianco. It's very winter hardy, exceedingly winter hardy, even more so than Desert King, and Desert King is very winter hardy. Very. It's a tough fig. It never stops. You can't stop it. You can't stop it from producing Briba. You cannot stop it from producing main crop figs. You cannot stop it from growing. It does not need to be pinched. It's early. It's wonderful. It's healthy. It's unstoppable. And it's a wonderful fig that I've been able to preserve in the family for many, many, many decades. Many decades. And it would be lost if I hadn't done that. Let's taste this. That one's pretty decent. I'd give that a fair. Surprised. Some years, taste varies. Even if you take a Mount Etna type, somebody might say, well, this is my favorite Mount Etna type because they're eating it right now today. Well, guess what? Next year, that particular tree, the same tree in the ground, same location, different weather conditions, might not be your favorite of the Mount Etnas. It varies a little bit. It's consistent enough that you can form a general opinion. Like if you like malted black, generally malted blacks will always come through for you. If you like Sicilian black or Sicilian dark, generally it will come through for you. But remember, all of these figs are very closely related, and they will change from year to year. And just like this main crop fig, I just ate it on the Feliciano Bianco. That wasn't so bad. Other years, they were atrociously terrible. Okay? These are just some things that we can discuss that we need to know about. There's no such thing as a constant. The only thing that never changes in our universe is change itself. You can always rely on change occurring itself. That's the only thing. There is no perfection. The only perfection in our universe is the imperfection of our universe. And we can rely on that. Everything is moving forward. All of the energy is moving forward into its altered state. Cannot create, cannot destroy energy. It can only be altered from one state to another. If you burn a log, all the energy came from the solar energy from the sun. All of that energy is altered. It's not lost. It's dispersed into the atmosphere, into the general everything that exists. And it remains. That energy just is perpetuated into an eternity of alterations that transpire in the future. Okay? So don't always look for consistency in things, including figs. They're not always the same from year to year. This I talk about in the other video too. And I think I'll just leave it that way. I'm going to release that video, which I go into a little bit more detail about my Uncle Mario and the story about this tree. But this is a tree that I recommend. Feliciano Bianco. Desert King is wonderful. If you have it, you can be satisfied with that. If you want a little bit of variation, the taste is slightly different, go with Feliciano Bianco too. Having them both in your collection, as I do, it has been rewarding for me. I would highly recommend this tree because if you want a reliable tree, fig tree that you can count on, especially in the Northeast and in 7A or warmer, put this in your backyard. Put it in the ground. It is tough. You can't kill this tree. This tree is tough. And it produces figs every single year, and they're delicious. I also talk about how I gave these cuttings to my friend Danny Yakir, whom I loved very, very much. A wonderful man that came and visited me from Israel. He and his lovely wife Maggie visited us, and the four of us had a wonderful time. 3 times, 3 different occasions. And I gave him cuttings from this tree and all my trees that he took back to Israel and planted in his orchard. And he sent me a tape that I have posted on Lumonti, which is Fig Varieties of the World. And you can watch that. And in that video, he mentions this tree because he says, at some point, he'll say, Uncle Mario, in his broken accent. Uncle Mario. And that's the tree. This is the tree that he got. The Feliciano Bianco. We call it that. Even Feliciano Bianco, I think this is it, but it may be slightly different because of the geographic separation in Italy for all of this, the time. I talk about this in the other video. I don't want to say it again. It's too much. But it's all very interesting to me. It's just interesting. I hope it is to you, these variations and things. But that's how all of the ancient horticulturalists, the gardeners, that's how they created so many different varieties by human selection and what was available to them from natural selection. It's just an interesting subject, very interesting. But bottom line, if you put this in your ground, if you live in my zones, you will be satisfied. I promise you. It's disease-free. It's very nematode resistant. It's extremely vigorous, extremely tough, extremely winter hardy. It's all of those, it has all of those wonderful characteristics, and it's delicious. And the Briba are really fantastic. They're a little different than Desert King. It's a little bit of a more green color. The Desert King's just a little bit more yellowish when they get ripe. And even though the flesh is similar, I would have to give the very, very slight nod in taste to my Uncle Mario's Feliciano Bianco, but very slight. Not enough to really be a determining factor in choosing between these, or among these, or between these cultivars. And remember, disregard completely the main crop fig characteristics that do get ripe with Feliciano Bianco. Disregard that completely. I don't think that should be a factor that you should even consider, because when they get ripe, there's other main crop figs getting ripe that are better. So it's not like it's the only main crop fig getting ripe in its time slot or something like that. It's not. So disregard that factor. But for all the other factors, this might be something you would want to add to your collection. Good day.